out is that from the get-go is relevant to digitize digitize the entry point. So in customers that are looking for agents that are more prone to technology, we were successfully able to launch bots that are able to capture the information similar to an agent, doing the compliance checks that are necessary, and creating this agent profile for verification. So on the recruitment part is relevant to either use the field services if that's the way to operate, or if the financial services are looking to a more let's say full digital journey, to more mature agents with tech, to consolidate both options to come in. Then the workflow should be the same. So the tool on recruitment allows this classification. So profiling the agent that you expect is important, and then overlapping this capability with maps of areas that you have in specific regions where you want to reach is something that the tool is capable of, so that the recruitment process can be coordinated with field staff. If I have a region that is interesting for us because of unit economics, mobile penetration, GDP, or number of SMEs available on that chunk area of concentrated population, I can design from a distance either a brigade that is going to operate at the kind of a once recruiting agents and then come back, or I have a specific design of company where this is an ongoing aspect from my operation on field staff. So this agent profiles, at the end of the day, mindset personas of the agents that we are trying to acquire are quite relevant. This dashboard correlation with the unique economics gives us the overlap. Where should we point the agents to? The capability to create also staff profiles that will later on do checks on this outlets is also relevant. So to guarantee that the entire flow has a digital touch point without the needs of having parts of the system outside that ends up generating broken systems and ends up generating leakage. What we find out also is that by using the tool with the tier-based KYC, the tier-based KYC also applies to agents. So you can create a logic of as this agent operates, I will consolidate more risk. I can give him, it reduces the risk of operating. I can give him more risky products to sell. This is how we manage recruitment. So it's basically KYC capture, qualification questionnaires, and this can be done offline, person to person, or it can be done online. But the workflow is the same, so that you know exactly. You follow exactly the same components of compliance and productivity. This is what we've seen in recruitment. On onboarding, what we find out is some contexts are more, let's say, formal than others. So it's also important to have a data-driven approach to identify optimal locations, that I said, conduct behavior assessments, but then being able to contract this new agent into the platform is also a part that is very relevant. So it's not only KYC, but actually consent on data sharing and the contracting part. So if you end up having an audit from the central bank or other regulator that is entitled to operate this, you have the tools to prove the relationship that you have with these agents. So more mature markets will lead to these kind of things, like electronic signature, validation of the agent when they are being onboard. A very important part of the onboarding is also the journey, and the journey that you take to being an active agent, and the journey that you take at the end of the day then for the next phase for retention. But specifically on activation, what's the successful journey for you to consider this agent as a active agent? So we build KPIs to monitor this as well, so that the process can be at serve of the business needs. Because we have everything together in one platform, we are able to coordinate check-ins from the field staff, identity and documents from the agent, on the monitoring, we will deep dive a little bit on the fraud behavior and the payment system transactions. So you can in one place consolidate all data and then define your strategy. So this would be more for not only for operation, but also from the constraints on the strategy management that strategy and management that you have for this, so that you don't leave unexplored and viable territories aside. You don't have you consolidate the data so that you end up making decisions based on data and not with the person that is more near the exco or the head of a department feels about it. You're actually taking decision on data, and this will also allow us to facilitate what happens currently in traditional agent networks, is that penetration on rural is very difficult, because at the end of the day, the urban is where you can easily check in on data. You move your staff there, you take information, and then you come back to that board designing what's coming next. So our digital platform is to facilitate that. Now on monitoring and supervision, this is quite relevant. I've been telling you about the custom KPIs dashboard. It can be configurable, but it's also very important component of process optimization and fine tuning. So being able to change things on the end user application without a disruption of having IT involved to do a new update of the app that needs to propagate, and these regions are offline. It's very important to have an easy distribution model, and we can do this from a distance, decommissioning remotely specific agents if we want, or uploading him or moving him into the value chain of a different agent profile where it would is transacting well, and you build some gamification where you can now be in a different tier where we will get more commissions and a different kind of service level from the financial service provider. We also incorporated AI components, especially on identity verification, to avoid frauds. So we have components on camera that look into documents, automatic capturing it to avoid errors and also to avoid frauds. So and this happens sometimes customers leave documents around, and they can be misused for other purposes. So we have components that offline do this verification. So it's the second time during the week that you're trying submitting this document ID, and there's a flag being raised. Doesn't mean that we stop the process. This can be configured, but there's a flag that can be then coordinated by the head office, sending a supervisor to monitor specifically this agent behavior. So commission management is also something very relevant for the monitoring and supervision. So you give more benefits to agents that perform better, and you guarantee that agents that are either underperforming have the right training capabilities, or if they are trying to subvert the system for some reason, you actually have an indicator, because it could be an improvement of the system, or it could be a bad actor in the system, and you want to take it out, decommissioning him from a distance. Float management is also very important. So cash and electronic floats, as I mentioned, it needs to be easier for the person that is managing the territory to be able to communicate directly. So we have this in app, both for e-float and cash. So we have built this system for agents to automatically overdraft, but also for the territorial manager to monitor in app how is my agent network performing, so that I can send agent A or agent B into master agent A or master agent B into that region to focus on these specifics. So the liquidity reports are very relevant to this monitoring of daily usage for the territorial managers. And the auto rebalance and overdraft capability is very relevant to keep the business flowing, so that you don't end up having the disruptions. At the end of the day, what happens is the customer goes there and they will say the system is down. I get into this in some extent with the life cycle in the previous question. I'm focusing a little bit on how this agent network solution can scale across Africa, because that point is quite relevant. And I identify here 4 different, let's say, variables that influence and how Waymo covers them. So the first one is regulatory. So there's data protection rules that are not spread around on territory, and we typically have customers that are Pan-African, work on these Pan-African geographies. So data protection is something that changed from territory to territory. So there's no unification of these concepts, and at the end of the day, you're using data of people that are the most unprotected about the data that they are sharing. So this is quite, for us, from the ground up again, a fit for purpose of not misusing the system or not designing it for an abusive point of view. So data protection is something that we have been focusing very much. The kind of information that we collect and the kind of information then the agent has access to. So masquerading data is quite relevant during the journey, and this can be configured per specifics. So our platform has a kind of a context rule where you can consolidate all the configurations if you are Pan-African. So you have a similar cache-in or cache out use case, like the fields. You just adapt the context of language or even culture related to dialect. You can configure that in a consolidated tool, but then the data flows directly into specific data storage that could be held in specific lockdown in specific regions, and the data flows directly from the phone to that data warehouse without going around clouds and things like this. So there's also different regulatory rules that can be configured in the system that we find out. So if you end up in a geography that is, for example, bank-led, like Nigeria, this would be more focusing on giving cards to people so that they can operate, or giving a POS agent instead of a more holistic multiple technology touch points. So this also changed in terms of scaling, and the system is able to coordinate this. So the Android application can run the system in a Android POS, or can run the system on a kind of bring your own device logic if you're adapting to brand bank-led, or if you're adapting to a more telco-led kind of use case as well. On identity space, this is also very relevant, because identity ends up being different from country to country as well. So the capability to tear down KYC, as I mentioned before, or adapting biometrics and do verification from the app to the core systems that the regulators make available. This is quite relevant to make the operation seamlessly and don't end up with regulatory fines. By the end of it if you don't comply. So this is how regulatory basically impacts the configuration that we have in our system, because we have Pan-African footprint customers. So centralize the business logic, decentralize the data flow of information. On a more business model for agent networks, and I mentioned also this before in more detail. It's possible we have customers that are just staff-led. So they have staff in the field that goes out every day to the field, or they operate from kiosks that are controlled, but they are their own staff. And this is a more a typical use case where you try to consolidate, for example, authentication of your staff with tools that you have in your headquarters, like Active Directory and things like that. So we have adapted the technology to cope with staff needs, where you need to control them differently because you consolidate, and then for third parties or agents. Okay, and on agents you can have four basic models. You can have direct channel hierarchy, and if you have that relationship, the brand is much more relevant. The brand relationship would be much more relevant. So you have directly headquarters or field staff communicating directly with the agents on the field. But if you diverse to kind of a master agent hierarchy, where they get a commission cut, this touch also based with the model where you configure the commissions on the different hierarchy rules that you have. So the business model is constrained, can be constrained by regulatory, but not all the time is regulatory. It could be, let's say, the way of doing business, or the way of how formal financial systems are and money trading is perceived. So the master agents, when they operate, they want to see exactly how are they performing, who needs my support, is the support something related to training, or is it something related to transactional cash or e-float support. So these kind of things, or even device repair. So these kind of things are relevant within this profile capability. Then you can have the hybrid model, where you have field staff directly interacting with your agents and also master agents, or a more complex where you have third-party aggregators. So we have customers that incorporate this four modules or four business model types, and the tool is able to cope with all of them, because it's based on creating profiles, authenticating the profiles with your business security, and then they operate getting access to reporting, training, and field support network based on the rules that you have defined for them. So this is how we scale them in practical terms. There will be people enrolling new master agents, there will be, or bots enrolling new master agents, and there will be direct access to agents for recruitment, onboarding, and support, if this is the model that they follow. But the technology copes with this different organization logic. And we also have, I've touched a little bit on the context rules, multiple device capabilities, so that you end up in a situation that you don't have agents sharing around their user and password. You can configure biometric authentication as well, so that you give more robustness to the process. And we also been scaling the solution, as I mentioned, is built for offlines first. So we have a technology mechanism that's called a token, that should give them a capability to operate offline within a given terms. If you need to destroy this token, you can do it from a distance. If you need to renew the token, you can force for a profile update, and this gives the capability to ensure that all the compliance is in place. So if you find out there's actually agents that didn't log in, you have this for some time, but they have a valid token, you have this information, you can break the token, you can make them log in again. And you can also design something that would be for them to consume the application and the platform as a kind of a data free. And this was actually very successful in DRC as well. And we find that these capabilities is what at the end of the day make it possible for the system to scale. So agents that perform, they are performing offline. The confinements that they use are biometrics offline, reduced data package, but have the channel communication with the territorial managers. First part. The second part is distribution. If the Pan-African digital financial service needs to cope different rules for identity, for data protection, it's able to do this separately, but it has one place to configure, but the data flow will go to this specific territory databases. And the last point is coping with the context and the business model, being able to adapt if the digital financial services wants to, for example, try a different distribution model, it's able to, the technology is able to cope with that. Okay, so basically giving a little bit of heads up how does this system scale throughout the countries where we operate: Mozambique, Nigeria, DRC, Ghana, and Ivory Coast at this moment in time.